Why is Satan such a big threat? Well, here's Satan, the big bad villain the Bible always talks about in every book. Peter even described him as a lion waiting to devour Christians in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8. So there must be something about this guy that's a threat to our faith. Let's look at it. One thing that makes Satan a big threat to us and our faith is that Satan understands human behavior, and he will use it to his advantage without hesitation, as St. Paul informed us in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. This guy, Satan, can capitalize on the lusts a human being has to lead them into sin. Let's look at what James said on the matter. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust, and enticed. Then when lust had conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. James chapter 1 verses 14 to 15. Let's take a look at one of the times he used this to capture a victim. King David went up onto his roof, and he saw a woman bathing. If any of us haven't read this story before, I think we can tell where this is going. He went to go find out who she was, Bathsheba, and then slept with her. Out of desperation, he then indirectly murdered her husband. Not one, but 2 sins. Satan goes for when people are weakest, like how he went to Jesus when he was hungry, after fasting for 40 days in Matthew chapter 4. However, that plan with Jesus failed. But that's not all. Satan's also a big threat, because if we don't know the way he works, he's able to use that ignorance to slip in and take control of our lives. Christ talked about the importance of paying attention and knowing what we're facing in Luke chapter 21 verses 34 to 35. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness, and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all of them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Satan can manipulate people just like many other spirits can. King Solomon talked about that when referring to God in Proverbs chapter 21 verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. Let's look at Judas. Judas wasn't the most dedicated follower of Christ, as we know, as he was said to have stolen from the bag they kept their money in John chapter 12 verse 2 to 6. We can see here that he was a lover of money. Satan then used that opportunity to get him to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Under Satan's influence, evil acts seem like good ones, and vice versa, especially when it comes to secular subjects. This was discussed in Isaiah chapter 5 verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. See also 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 11 to 12. An example of this was the Israelites. The Israelites were also so deluded by Satan the devil that no matter what God punished them with, they still abandoned him time and time again to go serve other gods, as we see in Amos chapter 4 verses 6 to 13. So, looking at all this, I think we can see that Satan is a big threat to our worship to God. But just because he's a threat doesn't mean he can't be repelled, as Paul said here. And that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 26. When we know how Satan works, and can recognize when he's rearing his ugly head, then we'll be able to avoid falling into his traps. If we continue to resist, Satan will not stick around, as James said in James chapter 4 verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And that's the answer for, why is Satan such a big threat? If you like the video, then please consider subscribing and liking. And if you want to know when I post again, then please click the notification bell. Watch out, and have a great day.